I mean, he can beat himself, right? Yeah.
Right. All right. News. Hello. Welcome to Breakfast All Day. See me? I'm the captain now. With my captain's hat, yes, I'm showing off. I'm Matt Atchity, here with Alonso Duralde, a.k.a. Tamil, and Christy Lemire, a.k.a. the Muskrat. We are all here.
I'm your cruise director. I'm your ship's cruise director.
Okay.
I'm Julie McCoy.
Sounds good.
I think of you more as an Isaac the bartender type, but you know.
You are Isaac-y. The double guns.
Yeah, it's very noisy here. It's leaf blower time, and also planes are landing. So
it's the last weekend of summer, right? This is Labor Day weekend. Theoretically, it's the last weekend of summer. Although, what is time?
Indeed.
Time is a flat circle.
Best.
So let's do slipping into the future.
All we are is dust in the wind, dude. But we should start with some news. We've got a lot of movies to talk about today. We will get to all of those, including Mulan. We will talk about Tenet some more because Tenet is out in the world, and I gotta run something past you because I'm thinking about going to see Tenet this weekend. I'm thinking about it, and I want to talk about it. You're both shaking your heads at me.
Oh, are you?
Where?
Let's work. San Diego County. Theaters are open there. But
we'll get
to that. We need to begin, though, with the news that broke right after we posted last week's episode, and that is the devastating loss of Chadwick Boseman. Yes. He was only 43.
42.
He died. No, he was 43.
No, he would turn 43 in November. A lot of headlines got that wrong originally.
Yes.
He died at the age of 42, which was Jackie Robinson's number, on Jackie Robinson Day this year that MLB designated. And it was also Jack Kirby's birthday, who was the co-creator of Black Panther.
It's awful. And he had colon cancer for years. And, I mean, nobody knew. I mean, think about all the movies that he was in over the last several years and how physically arduous they would be under optimal circumstances. Black Panther and a couple of Avengers movies. And
Bridges.
21 Bridges, and I feel like
Marshall
was during this period too. Yeah, Get On Up was prior to this.
I think so.
But just think about
Gods of Egypt. Let's not forget Gods of Egypt.
And even making one of these films is so hard. And then you have to do all the international press, and you've got to do all the photo shoots and the red carpets and answer the same questions. And every video clip you see, every anecdote you hear was that he was nothing but like on and present and charming and engaged, and nobody had any sense of what he was going through. And it's devastating. He was an incredible talent with tremendous range and elegance and grace, and presence is a word I keep thinking about with him. Like, no matter what role he's in, he played a lot of famous people for whom that would be a lot of pressure, between Jackie Robinson and James Brown and Thurgood Marshall, and of course T'Challa. He's fictional, but so real to so many people for his cultural significance, and he did it all with just total grace, and it's just heartbreaking.
Yeah, and we also he has that role in Da 5 Bloods, which is also physically demanding, and one of the things that I think part of, and I've seen other people write about this, I'm certainly not the first one to say it, I think part of why this hit so hard is because he was using his position to play figures that were important, either historical or in fictional narratives, characters that stood for something and meant something, and he backed that up. And you read stories now about how he would go and do like some of the other actors will do, like go and visit kids in the hospital and that kind of thing. No one knew about this, right? I think maybe on the Jackie Robinson movie, the director, I think Helgeland knew.
Ryan Helgeland.
But from what I've read, but nobody else, he didn't, and not that he had to, right? He didn't say anything. And I actually was talking to my wife about this because she's a business manager and they handle entertainment clients. And I said, it's surprising that it didn't, you have to wonder like how much the studios knew about this, which it seems like nothing. And she said, there's something to be said for like you try and book and do as much stuff as you can to set your family up and have something, have a get enough for them to be able to go on while after you're gone.
But it's notable though, the legacy that he was obviously like giving everything he had to create wasn't just about like making sure that his family was secure. Like none of these felt like money roles. They all felt, like Christy said, like maybe 21 Bridges, but you know, for the most part, these seemed like they were really important, and they were important. It was important iconography, whether it was again historical or fictional. That he was
Avengers stuff, the Marvel stuff is a money.
But,
I mean,
but that matters too, though.
No, I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but let's be like.
No. I mean, yes, those are paying roles for sure. But I think he didn't take it for the paycheck. He took it to be T'Challa, and to be T'Challa is a very important thing in the popular culture. I think he knew how important it was for that movie to get made, and how he had the clout at that point to help get it across the finish line. And so, I mean, I have a lot of. There's a lot going on here. Like a super talented guy taken away really young, guy who was going through immeasurable pain and not telling anybody about it while he was doing this extraordinary work. It brings up issues about like, who gets to work and who doesn't, and why we have to why people are called upon to keep their pain and their suffering silent, because otherwise they're not going to be given opportunities. I mean, there's a lot going on here, and it's going to be a while. I think we're all processing it, and I think that's the thing. Like, this isn't just he was a movie star and we liked him. Like, there's so much other stuff happening in this death that I think people are still working their way through. Just real quick. As somebody, my father died of colon cancer. I started getting colonoscopies when I was 35, which is relatively early. Like, talk to your doctor about colon cancer. It is the thing that gets often ignored, and like below the waist cancers are deadly, and they, hit people in a way they don't see coming. So like, do your best to prepare yourself.
Alonso, is colon cancer one that hits men more frequently than women?
I don't know that it does. Okay. I mean, it's not like prostate cancer that only affects men, or breast cancer that obviously disproportionately affects women, but does affect some men. No, I think colon cancer is pretty much an equal opportunity devastator.
I think one of the other things that hits so hard about the loss of Chadwick Boseman, and I neglected to add this to the thing I was saying, is that in a year where we have seen such outcry and such awareness of racial inequality, to see one of the people who is really, giving back and playing roles that have helped raise that awareness, to lose an actor like that this year of all times, it's like, oh, Christ. I think that's part
of all those
like,
things that are happening. Yeah, for sure.
And it would be a lot of pressure because these are serious, cultural, historical figures. But then I kept getting reminded, because people kept posting it on Twitter, when Chadwick Boseman hosted Saturday Night Live.
Yes.
And that amazing episode of Black Jeopardy that they did, where he was in character as T'Challa, and just the totally earnest straight man amid all of those larger than life comic figures. But his timing was so perfect, and he took it so seriously. And I recall reading, I want to say it's Dave Schilling who did like an oral history of the Black Jeopardy sketch.
Oh, wow.
And he didn't get to interview Chadwick Boseman for it, but he talks to people who were involved with that episode, and how seriously Boseman took the representation of T'Challa, like taking him out of that Marvel universe and placing him elsewhere, and how he didn't want T'Challa to be like the butt of jokes. He didn't want him to be toyed with. He wanted it still to matter, and they found a whole different avenue into the character that way. If you've not seen it, it's brilliant. Also, I've read anecdotes about how important it was to him when he was playing T'Challa that he had that accent, that he did not speak with a British accent that would suggest colonialism, that he would not speak with an American accent. Boseman was born in South Carolina. This is not an American character. Wakanda is not a colonized nation. Wakanda is, its own breathtaking high-tech utopia. And he wanted to represent African excellence in that regard. And so he really, really fought for that element of the character.
I'm blanking on the director's name of Black Panther. Ryan Coogler. Coogler's remembrance and writing about Boseman is essential reading, and just kind of what Boseman brought to the role and the production of the movie, and things like, the line about where what's the
Killmonger
would be buried, and the learning, what is it,
right?
Xhosa that they were speaking. Yeah, it's fascinating, and it's a tremendous loss. It's a tremendous loss. It's a super, like, in a year filled with shitty news, like can we motherfucker, like, we can't even have the Marvel movies, like, right? And I mean, and that's not the whole, I mean, like, that's not my whole thought of this. Like, it's a tremendous loss. It's a tragedy that somebody dies that early of something like that. Whether or not it's preventable, like, it's awful. It's awful.
I mean,
awful.
It made me think about, and these were both suicides, which are obviously different circumstances, but, like, I remember where I was when this was pre-internet for both of these, getting a phone call from somebody that River Phoenix had died, getting a phone call from somebody that Kurt Cobain had died. It was just like,
River Phoenix was an overdose. He didn't kill himself intentionally.
Well, potato.
He OD'd.
Fine. Nonetheless, in both of those cases, though, it was just like these people who were, like, young and vibrant and doing amazing work, and you just assumed, of course, they have decades of work ahead of them. Of course, we're just beginning to see what we're going to see from these artists. And so, Christy, you were the one who texted me about Boseman. I was like,
I told both you guys. Yeah.
We were in the middle of a screener for work, and I was like, I turned it off. We didn't do anything the rest of the night. It was just like, I can't even wrap my head around this.
I couldn't believe it either. And at first I was like, no, this can't be right. But my old friend Andy Dalton at the AP is the one who broke this. And the AP doesn't go with that kind of thing haphazardly.
Sources,
like any kind of major death like that, especially one that is so shocking. It's like, this has to be true. And yet, as you say, like, how do you wrap your brain around it? It's really hard. And then other people started confirming it as well. Yeah, I texted both you guys, and then we went and popped Black Panther into the DVD player. We still have our award screener of Black Panther, so we rewatched that, and that was a bittersweet thing. But
I was looking on. I had cable up that night, and one of the HBO channels was showing Get On Up, which is my favorite Boseman performance. And watching that again, like, not only just impressed and new at everything he's doing in that role, but also that he's acting opposite Nelson Ellis, who also, like, died around, like, the age of 40. And it was just like the two amazing, performers in this film that were taken away way too soon.
I want to go back and rewatch Get On Up. I recall just how electrifying he was. I think we had reviewed all of these movies at some point, whether on What the Flick or here on Breakfast All Day. So.
Yeah. And if you missed the ABC News special that was on Friday night after they'd aired Black Panther, I don't know if you guys saw this.
I didn't.
It's now available on Disney Plus. So if you're a Disney Plus subscriber, that the ABC News special that's called Chadwick Boseman, the tribute for a king, is now on Disney Plus.
Cool.
Good to know. Okay, so rest in peace, rest in power. So we should move on. There's other news to talk about. All right, so it's finally here, you guys. Tenet. It's a real movie that people are paying money to go see in public places. It's out.
Not this public. All right.
Not in LA County, not in Orange County.
Walk us through this. What are you thinking and why?
I don't know. I'm really conflicted about it because I think like just in the last day or two, San Diego County has gotten cleared to open movie theaters again. And so Chris and I were just sort of like tossing the idea around, like, and we don't even have to go all the way down to San Diego, like Oceanside, like North San Diego County. I'm conflicted. I really am, because part of me feels like for professional edification, like I need to see it. I feel like I need to see it. And I understand that we're not all going to feel like we need to see it. And I completely understand that. I do. It's such a personal choice. And I'm conflicted myself personally.
Because I feel like I don't need to see it. I feel like they've put us in this bind where they're not giving us any option that I think passes the sniff test of where we are as a society right now, of what's safe for us to do. Like, the only one that I've heard about that made any sense to me was Matt Singer wrote a piece for ScreenCrush.com where he basically used the thing that Regal or some theater chain has where you can book an entire theater.
The private screening thing,
and he got a private screening for himself and one other person, and they sat on opposite corners of the house and watched Tenet. It's like, okay, that one I'll buy. But
so they spent $200 to do that?
I think, well, I'm sure ScreenCrush.com did, but I just think everything else, everything I've heard about, I don't care how wiped down the theater is. You keep hearing stories about, yeah, sure, as soon as the lights go down, everybody takes their mask off, or they get a giant thing of popcorn so they can be eating popcorn for the entire movie and thus not wear their mask because they're eating. The whole thing just gives me the willies, and I just think I am pissed off at Warner Brothers and at Christopher Nolan for making us make this choice rather than either go to streaming, and if Nolan's so opposed to that, then go to the future when we're not where we are right now. But until we have, testing, tracking, treatment, those are that's my mnemonic these days. I'm not going to see Tenet.
I know. I'm really torn. And part of me too, out of sheer curiosity, wants to see what it looks like. Not the movie, but can you guys hear that buzzing?
Yeah.
One of us is buzzing. Not me.
Not me. I mean, I'm not hearing it, so I don't know.
Anyway, I hear buzzing.
I don't know.
It's gone now. So part of me is curious to see what the experience looks like.
Right.
And part of me has heard from enough people who have gone and done it, like our friend Rachel Wagner, Alonso. Rachel, yes, from Rachel Reviews, who lives in Utah, I want to say.
Right.
They have been back at screenings for a little bit now, and she has said that she feels safe. A mom friend of mine, actually, I interviewed her on a la carte. Her name is Jamie Lynn Littman. She's a documentary filmmaker, and she drove to Las Vegas. Last week, she drove 4 hours to Las Vegas to go see Tenet at a Regal theater there. Because she's such a huge Nolan fan.
I had a friend who went in Dallas, and he said the theater where he was, like, literally once you would buy a seat, they would block out like a certain number around you. I mean, I get it. Efforts are being made, and if people's own personal comfort level is that they feel like they can do this, I'm not saying don't. I'm just saying I am not doing it.
I know.
I just think it's a terrible idea. And also it's like, I mean, like, I assume RogerEbert.com already reviewed this, right? You're not seeing it for them.
Brian saw it in Chicago.
Okay, so you're just seeing it because you feel you need to see it?
Professional edification and curiosity.
But I mean, you don't think that it's going to also...
wait.
I mean, the thing, you don't think it's going to come back to theaters at some magical point when things are less shitty than they are right
I could wait, and clearly we're not going to talk about it until we've all seen it.
I was going to say, yeah, Matt and I
can't talk about it without you guys anyway. Matt, what are your thoughts?
I have zero... I mean, at this point, I have zero desire to see the movie on the big screen at all, ever.
Because you're pissed at Nolan?
Yeah, because fuck Chris Nolan. Like, fuck him, fuck Warner Brothers, fuck everybody. Like, no, it's like, you either, sure, show it in some parts of the country, fine, but I think it's too soon. I mean, look, I'm not an epidemiologist, right? Okay,
but you play one on TV,
right? No, I'm a
have the hat of an epidemiologist.
I'm a drunken ship captain, right? And no, we're not steering towards those shoals. Look, like I can only speak for myself. I'm a high risk individual. I have a history of asthma. I have a history of heart trouble. So I'm one of those people that, like, I need everybody else to wear a mask to protect me, please.
Yeah. Don't tell anyone I'm fat. And I hear that we have a harder time dealing with this stuff when it happens.
Right. So, you hear about it's getting transmitted around schools as people are going back to school. Like, what we're hearing from a lot of the scientific community, a lot of doctors are, the summers when you get your break with the disease because it's hot.
That didn't happen.
And well... or it sort of did, and it's going to get even worse when flu season hits in a few weeks, right? I think that this is going to be a disastrous mistake. And look, like, some people are going to get in and out, but the thing about a Nolan movie is, like, that is the kind of movie you want to see on a big screen,
right?
Sure,
with a theater full of people. And that's the thing I think that they're forgetting, is that, like, part of the fun of going to see a movie is the packed theater. Right? Like, that's
the energy of it.
The energy of it. Like, that's irreplaceable. And
every screening is now Tuesday morning at the Grove.
Right. Right.
So,
that's true.
I will say, like, and we'll get to this. Like, Mulan was a movie that, like, oh, I would have liked to have seen that on the big screen. But you know, this one, I think Warner Brothers, I think Nolan has handled this all very, very, very badly. I think they should have just pushed it. They should have pushed it to the holiday season. They should have waited for whatever reason. Like,
summer.
It's clear that Nolan's ego is all over this, and you know, you're hearing about crazy sound stuff. And now at this point, like, all I can think of is he's this egomaniacal director, and I'm frankly at this point less interested in any of his films going forward.
Crazy sound stuff is a Nolan signature now, though. Like, remember in Interstellar, we couldn't understand like half the shit they were saying. Go ahead, Alonso,
sorry. No, Sean Mulvihill tweeted, and I want to quote this: "A $200 million blockbuster with every financial incentive to keep its cast and crew safe couldn't prevent the spread of COVID, but I'm sure the underpaid staff and indifferent management of AMC will keep me safe." And yeah, that's the thing. Like, if The Rock isn't safe, are any of us safe? Frankly,
well, Dwayne Johnson and his whole family has it. Yeah. Robert Pattinson got it, which forced them to shut down production on the Batman.
Yeah, while shooting the Batman. Like, again, that's what this tweet is referring to. Yeah. Like, if those circumstances, which I'm sure like were mega, you know, like efforts being made to keep everybody safe, especially the leading man who can't be shot around. If he can contract COVID, then like I don't think walking into any movie theater is a safe proposition, no matter how many hand sanitizing stations they put on the wall.
But they can shoot Robert Pattinson from behind. They can put his body double in the bat suit, and they can just do all the grumbling, and they can loop it in.
All the Batman's like, just put the mask on him, and you can shoot everything you want.
It could be anybody.
Could be anybody. Anyone could wear the mask.
I will keep you guys posted. I'm very, very torn for all the reasons that you have both articulated.
We'll miss you.
It's been a good run. I just turned 48.
We'll say nice things about you.
I just turned 48 a few days ago. It's been a good run.
I mean, it's your funeral.
I know. Oh, God.
Literally.
Speaking of, Mark Mothersbaugh. Did you guys see this?
Yes.
Devo.
Oh, no.
Nearly died.
I know.
He spent 18 days in the ICU at Cedars-Sinai Hospital.
Did you read what he wrote about his hallucinations?
Yes.
Like,
it was very strange. The stuff that he saw, and the only thing that kept him sane and he argued alive was Zoom and FaceTime with his family. Like, he was totally isolated for 18 days. And like, we joke about how time is a flat circle, but like, you know, when you're alone like that and in pain like that.
Yeah.
And there's still some residual stuff going on with him.
Like, here's the thing. Rich people are getting this disease. So it's, you know, if anybody, you'd think if anybody was like going to be living in a dome and letting the poors get something. No. Like, even people who like have means and resources are getting it. So I just,
but the mega rich are not getting it.
Russell Westbrook got it. Novak Djokovic got it. Like, superstar athletes got it.
No, I understand. What my point is, like,
maybe they're not talking about it, Matt. Like, we still don't know what Fred Trump died of. You know.
Well, okay, that's my point.
You mean his brother, Robert?
Right.
Fred's been dead for a while.
Oh, Fred's the dad. Sorry. Yes, Robert. Sorry.
You know what? The point I'm talking about is the Wall Street financier types, the masters of the universe we haven't heard about COVID from those folks.
But those are the people who go to these parties in the Hamptons where no one's wearing any masks because they think they're infallible.
And if they do get it, they probably own their own ventilator, and they're not going to talk about it publicly because they want the economy to be open.
So we got to Mark Mothersbaugh, Tom Seaver, who probably neither of you guys know who that is.
I know who Tom Seaver is. He's a big enough sports deal that I know who Tom Seaver is. So
who's Tom Seaver, Alonso?
He is the greatest Met ever.
Right. He was a pitcher for the Mets. He died.
Tom Terrific.
COVID. He was before Tom Brady was Tom Terrific. Thomas Seaver was Tom Terrific. He's a Hall of Fame pitcher, arguably, as you say, the greatest Met ever. He died at age 75 of COVID. So there you go. Okay, so we should talk about this tweet from your friend Adam Carolla, Matt. Did you see this?
I did not. No, okay. But as we're talking about deaths, did you see about Eric Murillo dying?
I don't know who that is.
He's the producer behind the "I Like to Move It" song.
Oh.
Yeah. He was. No. it's unclear how he died, at least as of the last time I had read something, but he was scheduled to, there was, I think, a hearing for a sexual assault charge, and then he was found dead.
Oh.
Yeah.
So is that like suspicious?
Possibly, yeah. We'll see.
Okay.
This was just on the 1st, so.
Okay. So I know he's your friend, Matt, but we got to talk about Adam Carolla because it is on topic on the subject of celebrities and COVID. And he tweeted about how people who are getting it are all old and sick anyway, and you pussies all got played, and who's going to get played next?
God, he's a fucking idiot on so many fronts, but let me break this down a bit. The new right-wing talking point is, oh, they're inflating the numbers. These people aren't dying of COVID. They're dying of other things, blah, 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 meow. Well, okay. Nobody died of AIDS. People died of AIDS-related complications. What that meant was that AIDS shut down your immune system, and then suddenly you were dying of like things that only cats used to get, or you were getting Kaposi sarcoma that only like old Jewish men used to get. And now suddenly dudes in their 20s were having this skin condition. Like it's all about cofactors. So yes, you don't, just because you don't die of COVID specifically, it doesn't mean that you were already past a certain age and your COVID then aggravated this other condition you had, or that you were very young and your COVID created some condition that you didn't have before. So that talking point is bullshit, and Adam Carolla can please go fuck off.
I didn't realize he was that conservative, but I guess he is.
Oh, he's that conservative.
I didn't realize that.
He and Dennis Prager are tight chums. They did some whole fucking documentary about, oh, safe spaces, when, like, you know, they are the first to, like, that's his other hot talking point, by the way, is that cancel culture is such a bad thing. Yeah. Let's talk to a right-wing person about something Jane Fonda said 60 years ago and tell me about cancel culture then. You know, don't even get me started with these assholes.
Matt, do you have any thoughts on this before I move on?
Matt would like to go back on his show, I think.
You know,
you don't have to say anything.
No, look, like, I went on, I mean, Adam's full of shit about a lot of stuff. I've said that to him on his show. So I think, yeah, like, and it's not like I've talked to him in a couple of years. So, okay. You know, I used to do a show, and when he would say something stupid, I would refute it.
Okay.
Because, to be clear, you know, I do eat stew and I do not wear bracelets. That was his other tweet this week. Yeah,
I mean, you know, Adam's gone. Look, my take on it is he's one of those people. He's surrounded by people who kind of just like, you know, he's a bully, and unless somebody gets in his face, I mean, Adam doesn't like it when he's challenged about stuff, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, having been on his show, he doesn't like when someone talks back to him. Like, he wants to make his joke and go on. And, you know, he's one of those comics that, as people complain about safe spaces, it's like, you know, similar to some of the right. I mean, it's like, oh, you know, my take on comics like that is like, man, the only material you have is making jokes about, you know, just whatever, like, down. Right. Like, right. And if you say punching down, they're like, oh, you mean people are worse off? It's like, no, it's from the standpoint of how much do you get discriminated against, right? Like, but whatever. You know, it's like, oh, you only have jokes that are misogynist, or you make jokes about gay, you know, gay people or whatever. Like, man, I'm sorry, you can't come up with any new material, because there's a whole bunch of comics who've been able to pivot and keep working. But if that's all you got is being a like 15-year-old in the locker room, sorry, like, tastes have changed, right?
Everybody had to learn how to adapt, right? Everybody,
right.
Times you know, change, mores change, standards change, and
the thing is, for all of
other people got access to a microphone for a change.
Well, and you know, for all of, you know, this is where Adam really got, you know, so the show I went on after his Road Hard movie came out was particularly fun, because that was the one where he was complaining about the reviews. He's like, oh, nobody likes me because of my politics. And we had like a 20 or 30 minute discussion about the tomato meter for his movie, which was not great. You know, one of the things I told him was like, or maybe they just didn't like your movie. Right. And it was this whole thing of like, oh, but they don't like me because I said women weren't funny. And so I had printed out copies of almost every negative review. I'm like, show me in these reviews where somebody says you're not funny. Mm-hmm. Well, that's just what they like. Show me. But you know, it's easy laughs. It's cheap shots he likes to take. And, you know, I mean, yeah.
I got two more COVID things. Go ahead.
I mean, make no mistake, I'm not going to defend stupid shit that Adam says. And,
okay.
You know,
I just want to give you the opportunity because I know that you are his buddy. Two more COVID things.
Make it sound like we hate. Like I just used to do a show. Like,
all right. Hey, so remember we talked last week about how people who are making commercials are concerned about their safety, that the protocols aren't quite in place for quick commercial shoots that exist for film and television production. Yes. A 51-year-old assistant director named John Nolan died of COVID after working on a commercial shoot in Texas. That's according to an LA Times story. He'd been around for a while and just we're hearing anecdotally, but have these safety measures just aren't in place. Testing isn't the same. You know, these are quicker shoots and people need the money. They've been out of work for months. You know, this town relies on production to keep it going. And so, you know, and also I think in those jobs, you want to say yes and you want to make it work and you want to keep the machinery running and not complain because somebody else take that job if you don't.
Yeah. And perish forbid the government actually take care of people that need to be staying home and not working when there's a pandemic going on.
Sorry, my husband just left for work. So he wears a mask at work. They all wear masks.
Batman mask?
What's that?
A Batman mask?
He could, theoretically. He could. We have LA Kings masks that we like.
Oh,
comfortable.
I have floral masks.
Of course you do.
Of course you do.
Of course I do.
Is that your favorite mask? That's cute. It's blue. It's like a blue Hawaiian print. That's cute on you.
Nice.
I have a bunch of these.
Hibiscus.
Couple more things. So, Alonso, you brought up something that your beloved Pedro Almodovar said about how we live with the virus. Will you expand upon that, please?
So he was interviewed on the red carpet at the Venice Film Festival, which is just opening, and is opening with a lot of safety protocols in place, and they're like underselling the houses and masks and the whole thing. Even though Italy obviously got hit very hard earlier in the pandemic, they've insisted on carrying on with an in-person festival anyway. So he is there with the premiere of The Human Voice, starring Tilda Swinton, which is like a 30-minute film, I think, based on the Jean Cocteau play. And he gave a quote on the red carpet saying that, streaming entertainment was really important to keeping people entertained during the pandemic. And it's great that it was there, but that people are getting too used to being entertained at home and to eating at home, and that they need to resist being imprisoned at home, and that people need to get back into movie theaters and have that shared experience. And I hope that he is speaking in the theoretical, that yes, at some point it would be great for that to be able to happen, and that obviously filmmakers make their work to be seen on the big screen and for audiences to enjoy and have that shared audience experience. But it also kind of sounded like he was saying, we need to make that happen now. And it's like, ooh, we're not there yet. And Spain is not there yet either. Like I Zoom with my sister every weekend, and it is not, they are spiking all the time. And apparently they're probably about to really crack down again now that summer's over and tourist season is ending, because it is not done it's not done here, and it's not done in Spain. It's not done in a lot of places in the world. And it's like, if you live in Vietnam or New Zealand or wherever, where you manage to nip this thing in the bud and do all the right things, great. Go to the movies, go to restaurants, live your life, and good for you. But everybody else, we need to we need to keep it locked down, because it's not getting any better.
Alonso, where in Spain is your sister? What part?
She lives in San Rafael, which is about 45 minutes or so north of Madrid. It's in the Toledo province. It's where they shot the Civil War sequences from Pan's Labyrinth, that mountainside.
Interesting. And so are they all kind of living their lives the way we do here in Southern California, as far as what's closed down? And
they've had stricter things where there was a while there where you couldn't travel from province to province. So if you were in Toledo, you couldn't go to another one. you know, I have a niece who's a doctor, so she's still having to go into work all the time. And they have like road checks for people, you know, where they like to make sure they're traveling, that they need to be driving.
Papers, please.
Basically, yeah. And like, you know, testing and stuff. So they've been doing more, but they really kind of loosened things for the summer because they rely so much on tourism. And that's, you know, like us, they prematurely, you know, pulled the plug on things and whoop, you know, and so, so I hope Almodovar realizes that things are bad in his own home country and that he needs to like be very clear when he talks about, yes, the importance of the shared experience of cinema is something that needs to be happening down the road when we can have that experience again. They also quoted a filmmaker at Venice talking about how it's like what you guys were saying before, the whole idea of the full theater, you know, because you have these people who are sitting surrounded by empty seats. The filmmaker, she was like, I know what it sounds like. I know what an audience sounds like when they love a movie. I know what it sounds like when they hate a movie. And this is different because everybody's so separated and dispersed that like you can't get that sort of full auditorium, you know, response that you normally would at a festival like Venice.
But then I saw that Christine Vachon, legendary indie film producer Christine Vachon, posted something on Twitter. I want to say maybe it was Facebook, maybe it was Instagram. I can't remember, but about how moving it was to be at Venice and to see all these huge stars like Cate Blanchett, like Tilda Swinton, wearing masks on the red carpet, and to be in a theater together again in Venice, you know, that everyone was just crying because there was so much emotion to be together in that room and to yet still try to look out for each other with some kind of safety precautions.
Look, anyway. do I miss going to the movies? I don't think I have not been in a movie theater for 6 months since I was like 7 years old.
Same.
And do I wish, has seeing all of my old pictures from Venice on my Facebook memories every day been like a knife in the gut? Yes, it has been. I miss all that stuff. But fuck, you know, I'm not getting on a plane to travel halfway around the world. I'm not going into a movie theater. Like if other people feel comfortable doing it, great. That's on them. But I cannot and will not.
Okay, let's move on. I have other news that's not coronavirus news.
Okay.
If I may.
Please.
Niecy Nash got married and came out at the same time.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Two birds with one stone.
Make a splash. Yeah, I had no idea she was in a relationship. I had no idea she was in a relationship with a woman. She's now married to a woman. So
she married a woman named
Niecy Nash. Congratulations.
Yeah, she married a woman named Jessica Betts, who is a musician, and posted pictures of their wedding, just looking radiant and joyous. And so, I think she's like 50 years old and just came out, so good for her.
Yeah.
What else? Snoop Dogg is coming out with a brand of gin, not juice, just gin. I guess you can add juice to have gin and juice. It's called Indago. It comes out this fall. I was surprised he didn't do it sooner. You know, like this is year. The song has been out for like 30 years. It didn't occur to him till just now to do a gin line.
Yeah, it's I'm sure he's waiting for weed to be legal everywhere before coming out with that brand.
Yes. Meghan and Harry have signed a deal to produce Netflix documentaries, kids television, and more.
Thank God.
Okay.
Kind of makes sense. I guess you can't do that if you're tethered to the monarchy as they were. You can't do that kind of stuff, right? They can be creative now, be who they want to be now, right?
Yes. I mean, didn't back in the day, didn't Prince Andrew work on Cats or something?
Well, I think it's more that you have to imagine that you have a very narrow range of options because you're going to have to run everything through like the family's PR, right? Like everything's got to get approved by the palace. So fuck that.
Look, the Obamas deal with Netflix so far has given us American Factory and Crip Camp. So sure, why not?
Yes. Naomi Osaka is still using her platform for good. She's an amazing young woman. You know, she's the one who last week when so many athletes were saying like we're not playing our games, she just like shut down an entire tennis tournament because she didn't want to play. Now she's playing in the US Open and she's been wearing different masks each day for her press appearances afterwards. She with Breonna Taylor across the mouth.
Nice.
So she is she's using her power for good. And I think that's all I have. Is there anything that here's some good news to end on. More Mandalorian, more Baby Yoda is coming in October. We're very excited about that around here. We love Baby Yoda.
Yes, and we will be covering it on our Patreon. So join now.
Yes.
I'm surprised it's this soon. This is pretty fast, though, because didn't Mandalorian just end like...
That's true. It was this year, wasn't it?
Was it this physical calendar year? Again, it's a blur.
No, wait a minute. We were reviewing that at Matt's house, I remember. So maybe it was...
Well, that could have been like January.
Could have been January, yeah. Time is a flat circle.
Truly. Who knows? So maybe Baby Yoda is just the thing we need to lift us all out of our doldrums.
As a balm, sure.
Right.
Just do the little floaty thing.
His little hand. He'll just pull all the coronavirus out of the
Do the hand thing.
Cheeky nuggy. Matt, do we have marquees this week?
We do. I thought you'd never ask. Hang on just a second. Here we go. All right. So this is the picture we're using on our opening. This is from a theater in Danville, North Carolina. A story about how the Danville GTC Theater in that locale is opening this week. I don't know what
Danville where Phineas and Ferb live.
I don't know. I don't know that that's the tri-state area they're talking about.
There's also Danville in the East Bay in Northern California. So maybe.
Yeah, no, this is in North Carolina. So that's I don't know what day Earth Day is, but okay. So this picture got sent in by Beth Barber Doty. This is the Parkway Theater in Minneapolis. It says 10 Things I Hate About 2020. And then next up, Geoff Swanson sent us a couple of pictures. This is the Lagoon Theater in uptown Minneapolis. He says, Tenet has arrived in Minnesota. Due to lack of films being released, they are lacking the usual posters that normally line their facade. But they are back in business.
It's a really cool looking, like modern, funky neon sign.
Yeah, the Lagoon with kind of the neon.
But then it's like red brick kind of industrial chic on the building. So.
Yep.
Lovely.
And then here's you can barely see it. Tenet, I'm thinking of ending things. Copperfield only gets one word, I guess. And Tesla in theaters.
We're reviewing 3 of those films, or 2 of those films today.
Right. All right. So next, James McDougal on Facebook sent us a ton of pictures. He wanted to share some pictures of the Belcourt Theater in Nashville, Tennessee.
The Belcourt.
It's Nashville's nonprofit theater that shows independent classic films, as well as special events. It's been open since 1925 as the Hillsborough, a silent film house. Also was home of the Grand Ole Opry from 1934 to 36. Became known as the Belcourt in 1966.
The Belcourt is where I saw Blue Velvet for the first time.
Wow. Because you were there in college, right?
It was walking distance from the Vanderbilt campus, so I saw movies there all the time.
You must have seen so much great stuff there while you were in school.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he sent us a few pictures of it. He says they've been doing events to help out with the cost, or he said the theater closed in March for COVID, hasn't opened yet. Even though a lot of the chain theaters are open, they've been doing events to help out with costs like streaming of films through different distributors. Next couple of weeks, they're going to have drive-in films in their parking lot. It's very much a part of the Nashville community and has been missed the past few months. Photos of the theater and some of the posters that had been up since they closed in March.
Nice.
Right.
It's like Portrait of a Lady on Fire is one of them.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that Kirk Douglas.
I think it's a retrospective program.
And then he ends with a picture of the theater in the 1960s.
That's so cool.
Right? So that's pretty cool.
Film critic Jason Shawhan, I believe, works there as well, who writes for the Nashville Scene. He and Dave just did a lengthy back and forth about Claire Denis' Beau Travail, the 4K restoration of which drops today on various art house theater websites.
Nice. All right. Twitter user Tsarstepan gives us this picture from the Nighthawk. Reminds us, be excellent to each other. That's it for this week. That's in Brooklyn. So that's it for this week.
Great. Thank you guys for all of those. We love them. And
Yes.
send them to us on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. We are at BeFast all day and all those places. We will accept them in any form.
That is correct. So, hey, thanks for watching. Like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel. As Christy says, follow us at BeFast all day on the social medias, and check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. Right now, we're talking about two very different but fascinating HBO series, Lovecraft Country and The Vow. But we will be picking up The Mandalorian again once that drops in October. So come back for that. Anyway, thanks for watching. Have a good week. Take care of yourselves and each other. We'll see you next time. Bye.